Children of my age, when they were growing up, parents said, no, 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 don't look at that person in the wheelchair. Don't stare at that person who's blind. You know, no, 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 get out of their way, stay away from them, you know?
The most important thing is to talk to our children and really establish the mindset that you know, God has made all of us to be different, because you know, it's like a flower. All flowers are different and they're all beautiful, and there's grand variety, so why can't people be different too?
I'm the first person that I know of in my family with a disability. And my parents couldn't teach me how to be a disabled person. They just had to learn right along with me, and that just repeats in every generation where you acquire a new disability, something different.
Life these days is complicated at best, and being successful means being able to accomplish many things at the same time. And this multitasking new world is made possible by the use of the now ubiquitous computer. But what if you have, or develop, a disability?
Because your access to technology can be hindered by a disability,
It may seem as though your life has been plunged into darkness.
the fact we'd like to shed light on is that for some time now, within the confines of your very own computer, have been the means and the modes to gain access no matter what your ability may be. Accessibility. Get it?
Since the distant dawn of Silicon time, there have been computer programs to empower almost everyone, no matter what their physical limitations.
Did you know that most disabilities happen to people after they become adults? The following real-life stories are about people who've acquired a disability later in life and then use the power of the personal computer to keep their many objectives and objects of their lives airborne.
That was thoughtfully considered and well spoken, Dmitri. I knew you had it in you.
Oh, thanks.
My name is Jim Mullen. I'm a former Chicago police officer. I was shot in the line of duty in my right cheek, and the bullet had traveled and down and lodged in my spine. And I'm now paralyzed from the neck down and depend upon a respirator to breathe. When I was shot, I really was fortunate to be alive. I was shot in 1996, and during my rehab, a friend brought me a computer, and that's where it all began. When a policeman in the city gets shot, there's a great outpouring of emotion and support for the family from everyone in the Chicago area. It's quite strange. I really became a celebrity of sorts. Mouse down. I was the catalyst of starting this new company, and we have started designing websites. Double click. The websites are trivia related, where you can test your knowledge against the computer or other people throughout the country. We can link you through different players through history and connect you with any player playing in this league today with any other player you can name in history. We are the foremost website out there for anyone that's in sports. If we didn't have this technology, I would be up the creek, so to speak. I would be more dependent on other people. It's a mobility tool for me, really. Without the computer, you're not as accessible, because when I surf the web or write an email, there are no disabilities. It's an equal playing field for everyone. Now, it might take me a little more time, but nonetheless, I can still perform the same tasks. And I'm just like you when we use the computer. I'm just, right now, probably not as fast, that's all. It helps me overcome what would be possibly just devastating and a depressing injury into, hey, I still got my brain, I can do a lot. And I do it every day because of my computer. I can get on it, I can go anywhere. My company will be a big player in this new industry, and I'm very excited about it. It gives you a certain drive that I might not have if I was just stuck in my room watching TV. It makes you want to wake up and say, hey, what's happening today? Some of my friends and myself started the Jim Mullen Foundation. And what we do is we try to take or accept donations from larger corporations that are no longer using their older computer equipment and put it in the hands of the less fortunate and disabled people throughout the city. At my office, we reconfigure the computers to upgrade them a little bit so that they're functioning better, they're upgraded.
Did you ever think about disabilities before your accident?
Never. Never. Although I always said I never had a bad day, I really never understood how precious or fragile life really can be. When you're the good guy wearing the white hat on the white horse, you're invincible. That's how I felt. And we know that not to be true all the time.
I'm Laszlo Ross. I'm 53 years old, and I suffered a stroke just a little over a year ago. The stroke resulted in my being paralyzed on my left side, significant paralysis in my left arm, less paralysis in my left leg. I really never did picture myself as being disabled, and I think most people don't, but I certainly was aware of people with disabilities. As a small business owner, we hired persons that had disabilities. We had one employee who was hearing impaired and some others who had some mobility problems. But it's one thing to be aware of people and be sensitive to them. It's a whole different issue, though, to be disabled yourself. Well, initially, when I was told that I had a stroke, frankly, I don't think it really registered with me what that meant or the severity. I was a very rapid typist. I was on the machine a lot, but still, due to the damage of the stroke, I was not able to read, and I really wasn't able to use my computer probably for the first 2 to 3 months after I had the stroke. And as a person who has only just recently become disabled, that frankly is very frustrating. After having the heart attack and the stroke, I had to basically figure out a whole new way to live. And it's taken me a year now, and I'm starting to get into a behavior pattern that I think is going to work for me, but it's difficult. Begin new document. Well, I think technology increasingly plays a very significant role in evening the playing field. I also use a speech recognition package that allows me to dictate into the machine, and it transfers my speech to text. I am still waiting for more information from some of the cousins, period. I do a lot of email. I keep in touch with business associates, friends, family. It's a very effective tool to do that. I just view the computer as a way of enriching me and allowing me to do, frankly, allowing me to do most of the same things that I was doing prior to my disability.
Do we need a couple more minutes? Do you guys need-
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's go around that way since I just...
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to have the tono contaglioni al limone.
The Flying Karamazov Brothers invited me and a few people to lunch, and it was great fun because none of us knew each other, and we all had completely different disabilities and different life situations. That's me ordering the soup. I'm Greg Smith, host of On a Roll Radio. I got a chance to meet Terry Lean, an actor who is deaf, and that's Alex Valdez, a comedian who is blind, and his dog Roca.
Sounds fabulous.
I think part of the discomfort that the temporarily able sometimes feel with people with disabilities is they don't like to be reminded of how temporary their own ability is.
That's true,
Part
and
of
that's
it.
true.
But it's it's hard to know just what the appropriate questions to ask are. Is it appropriate to I should one say nothing about
Right.
your disability, or is how do your hand what do you say?
You know what I think, and this is what I tell people when I go out and do training about etiquette, and I have a workshop on etiquette training and a handbook and everything that I give to them. And I say, you know what? I said, you're going to read through this handbook, and I'm going to give you some ideas of this and that. And I'm going to talk to you today about sighted guide, how to walk with a blind person, how not to interact with the guide dog when it's in harness, this and that. I said, but the bottom line is never assume, always ask. That's the bottom line.
I think even the disabled people aren't always, 100% comfortable with other people with different disabled people.
Yeah.
And for example, I sometimes admit to feeling awkward around people who are blind because they can't see me, I can't talk to them straight. So I feel like I want to make a contact with them, but I feel I'm not making a direct contact because my voice is coming out of an interpreter and she's someplace else, And I really want to have some kind of personal contact that lets that blind person know exactly who I am and what I am like.
Everybody's different. I mean, there's no training that anybody can give you that can tell you unequivocally this is what you do with certain disabilities, because everybody's different. So assume that the disabled person is the expert on their body and their wheelchair. I mean, that's not too hard to imagine. But then if you're in a social situation and you want to know what my disability is, I tell you, why don't you ask me, but understand that I'm a person, and that if I feel like giving you a straight answer, I will. If I feel like giving you some BS, I might do that too.
Yeah.
Just as you would, you. Well, people might ask you, what's the deal with this Flying Karamazov?
Are you guys really brothers?
Yeah,
we get asked that a lot.
Sometimes you want to.
Sure, I asked you guys that this morning. I said, yeah, are you guys really brothers?
Sometimes people work hard to learn an art or a skill, only to find that when an ability is impaired, they are no longer able to perform as well as they once did.
Or in this case, as badly as they once did.
A physical disability doesn't need to stand in the way of a person's ability to learn.
By emphasizing another form of sensory input than the one impaired,
for instance, adding clear visual cues to compensate for the absence of sound,
a student with a disability can keep up and indeed excel. Though not necessarily.
What?
Let's meet some people who are using computers to gain access to educational benefits.
My name is Elizabeth Phillips, and I'm a sophomore in high school, and I live in California, and I can't see. I'm totally blind, and I'm 16. I use like my Braille and Speak for most of my homework. I even did half of an essay on it. It's a lot faster for me anyway. It has a Braille display on the bottom, and it's actually really helpful because you don't have to like have the speech on. You can just read on the bottom the Braille that you're writing.
S-T-E-P-H-A-N-I-E.
I'm also using a regular computer. I use computers for like the internet, and at our school, everybody has access to the internet. So every computer has email and onto the internet, and everybody gets their own mailbox and their own address for email.
So now you want to go to your mailbox, see if you have mail.
Technical support. Student news. Stephanie Lay, 1K, happy birthday, 11/24/98, 10:52 a.m.
Oh.
So if you want to read that.
It really helps me out to just be more independent, be more like my friends, and you know how the world is now.
U-S-A-F-E-A-D-Y. Clear space.
If I didn't have computer technology, then I'd be a lot worse off than I am now. I probably wouldn't have I don't think I would have done well academically because I couldn't keep up. I wouldn't be able to keep up in class with everyone else. I wouldn't be able to do things as efficiently.
Go ahead and translate it back to Braille.
F, N equals new control and dialog. Arrow, T, menu closed, translate Braille document, custom control, IV.
I print out everything in Braille. A lot of stuff is in Braille though, like all my English is in Braille and on tape. So, and in class essays, I can look back on the Braille for quotes and things like that.
I think technology has allowed people to work in almost any capacity alongside people who, without disabilities. With speech, now somebody who's blind can access just about any program. I think it allows them to be a lot more independent in pretty much any job.
It's the way this world is going, so learning it now is going to help me in the future because everyone's going to be on computer. So for me to be learning that now is really going to help me out then.
My name is Lindsay Dorish. I'm 15 years old, and I am hearing impaired. I go to a school in Northern California called College Preparatory School. I really like school here. It's so fun because everyone accepts me here, and I really like challenging myself for the academics here. And everyone here is just really nice, and it's a lot of fun. I have a very profound hearing loss. The biggest challenge of being hearing impaired for me is missing out on big group conversations. It's really hard for me to get what's going on, and I always have to ask someone next to me what's going on. And that really cuts me off from a lot of the communication, but I'm pretty visual, so I can get a lot of what I see. But that's really hard for me because it's just tough, you know? Without hearing a lot of things, you get cut off a lot.
We're going to talk a little bit about the economic impact of colonialism.
I listen to the teacher by reading her lips, which is my basic way of communicating with people. I use sound. I can hear sound pretty well, but basically I need to see the person's face to understand what they're saying. In the school, it's important to have technology or computers. I use the computers in English, history, and science to understand what the teachers are saying. The way the computer is set up is that there's a cord connecting to the two computers so that the information is sent through to the other computer, and what she types on her screen will appear on my screen. I look over to the screen whenever I miss a piece of information that the teacher says, or when a student says something behind me or in a location which I can't see them. So I can look at the computer screen that time, and usually I can get what they said most of the time. The computer gives me a lot of other advantages. They print out the notes, so after class I can get the notes and read over them and get the extra things that I missed. And so when I'm studying for a test or a quiz, then I can go over those notes and get them. And if other people miss notes, then I can charge money for them to pay, but I've never really done that before.
I have a very severe physical disability. I weigh 65 pounds. I've had my back fused with metal rods. I'm very, I can't lift anything that weighs more than this glass of water. But, to sit and listen to this group, you would think, oh, well, it's great to have a disability, It's not great. I mean, there's a lot of times when you're really struggling or there are challenges, that you do overcome, and I'm happy with my life, and I wouldn't trade my life for anybody's life, disabled or not. But there are times when, it gets really challenging to climb in this wheelchair or to, make some strange, difficult physical task, or something that I can't reach. And I play games like I get determined to get something done, and I do it, and I win, and that's what kind of keeps me going sometimes, are those little victories.
Well, there's no doubt about it that, there are times that every one of our disabilities is just a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to hear about those times from your disabilities, because I haven't really talked to anybody deaf or blind about those times.
Where do I start? Probably the most frustrating thing for me is that I can't just pick up a set of car keys off the counter and walk outside, get in a car and drive wherever I want to go.
Yeah. What about for you, Terry Lane? I mean, like what are the challenges? You probably don't have any because you were born deaf and you've always been that way and your family's that way and you guys have generations of success stories, right? And ways to get over the disability.
Oh, well.
Maybe not.
I'm trying to think of some things.
When guys whistle at you, you can't hear them, right? You don't know that they're... right? Is that one?
Well, that's good. I feel harassed. Just go along my merry way.
No sexual harassment here.
I'm trying to think of what... I guess, I really enjoy my life as a deaf person, and sometimes, I think my pet peeve is that people try to talk loudly to me. They start going, thinking that it's somehow going to help me to understand the person better if they speak loud. And I get a little bit embarrassed for them because, everybody else around the room is all looking at us.
Too. We all have those things, but you know what, here's part of the thing too, us as a group that have been brought here together today, we are people with disabilities that have success stories, that have successful lives.
Right.
And part of our responsibility, now this is only my opinion, okay? You guys may want to differ with me. My opinion is that as successful people with disabilities, part of our responsibility is that we make it look easy. Because if we make it look easy, then maybe people are more apt to talk to us, to ask questions, to dispel the myths, to get rid of the fear, to ask those questions, to give us the opportunity to educate. And that's why we're out there doing what we do.
People learn many complicated, delicate tasks as part of their jobs. These tasks can take years to learn and demand training, talent, and experience.
When a person's ability to do a job in which he's an expert becomes impaired, it's tragic to let all those years of experience and training go to waste.
With technology to lend a hand, an impairment, be it from birth or acquired, no longer needs to keep a talented person from being as productive as anyone else on this planet.
Pretend I'm a computer.
Not only are people with serious disabilities continuing to make a contribution,
some using assistive technologies are making a truly significant impact.
My name is Mark Parenti. I'm 30 years old. I live in the Chicagoland area. I was paralyzed in an auto accident about 3 years ago. Basically, what I remember from the accident is very small. The injury level that I sustained was a C7 T1, which is the 7th vertebrae in my neck. So basically, right just below my shoulders is where the injury took place. And they classified me as a paraquad because I have limited use of one upper extremity and full use of the other. At first, I thought it was just a joke that, that I was in this hospital, and I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would be in the situation I'm in. Not knowing what disabilities were 3 years ago, I had a lot of questions that people weren't giving me answers to, especially doctors. And I figured that the only place to get them were from people who are living in that experience right now. With the advent of the internet and computer technology, I can communicate with somebody in Chicago, or I can communicate with somebody in Russia who has a disability. What I use the computer for and the site that I've created is to initiate conversation, is also to get answers to questions that I have. If I wake up one morning and I have a question, I'll post it out there and see what kind of responses I get. And if that initiates conversation amongst other people, then I've helped myself and a whole group of other people. The website has a couple different areas. One, the first part that I really focused on was a database of people where people could come in and put their specific information about who they were and their interests and whatnot, and email addresses, and so people could do a search and find someone in their area that may have an injury similar to theirs, and they can communicate. Another area is called products and services. It provides folks with disabilities with a catalog. There's a lot of different categories of products. There's companies that I've listed in there that do home modifications, like the lift that I have in my home that gets me to my basement. What a computer gives a person with a disability is the unlimited opportunity to travel, to talk to people without ever leaving their home. Here's the guy. His cause of injury was plane accident, and his interests are recreational flying, travel and boating. So he's right back to doing the same thing he was before his injury. I never had patience. If something came to mind that I wanted to do, it was now or never, and it was the biggest thing I had to do at that point. But now, I have the patience of a saint. The need for accessible products has gone from basically 0 to an astounding rate. Companies are making products that cover from computers to automobile adaptive equipment to lifts. Society is coming to grips that, hey, you know, there's going to be people that can't do things, and let's make it easier for them. And you know, my hat goes off to them. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to have the ability, you know, to get into my van and to drive wherever it is I need to go. Freedom. It's nice to have wheels again. The future looks bright. Every day is a new challenge. I've always been a goal-oriented person. Now I'm making new goals, and I may not be walking, but I just want to wake up and function on a daily basis and provide for my family and just be involved in every aspect of their lives. And I think I'll reach those goals too.
My name is Michael Williams. I am a writer and consultant, and my disability is called cerebral palsy. I have been disabled ever since I was born. I have never let this fact discourage me from doing the very best I can with my life. At this time, all my major activities center around the field of augmentative and alternative communication. I write a newsletter for augmentative communicators called Alternatively Speaking. I am a member of the Executive Committee of the International Society for Augmentative and Alternative Communication, or ISAC. I am the first augmented communicator to serve on this committee. I am also involved with a project at Penn State that is investigating whether it's possible to mentor augmented communicators via email. You'll notice something very unusual is going on here. Not once since I've started this discourse have I moved my lips. No, I'm not trying to be some sort of New Age ventriloquist. Had I attempted to convey the same information using my biological voice, not many people would understand what I was saying. This voice output communication device is but one of the many tools in my assistive technology arsenal that I use to communicate my thoughts to the outside world. In addition to this voice output communication device, I also make extensive use of email and the fax machine. In addition to these high-tech devices, I also use a low-tech letterboard. I use this to spell out words, letter by letter. This limited the people I could communicate with. After all, you can't use a letterboard to talk with a small child, or a blind person, or a person with dyslexia. My voice output communication device helps me establish myself as a sentient human being when I'm out in the community. This is most important for me, for I am afraid that Mr. and Mrs. John Q. Public tend to view people with speech disabilities as 2 carrots short of a stew. Modern technology has helped me tremendously in my struggle to become a full human being who participates in a meaningful way in his society, but such were not always the case. As you can see, I'm not a member of Generation X. I was born in the late 1930s, and these technologies weren't even dreamt of then. My first piece of assistive technology was my grandfather's standard manual typewriter. I used typewriters to communicate all through grade school, high school, and during my undergraduate years in college. In the late 1970s, I became the first person on my block to get a personal computer. When I saw the possibilities this machine brought into my life, I became an enthusiastic supporter of this technology in the lives of people with disabilities.
My name is Krista Caudill. I'm a deafblind person, and I'm a student at the University of Delaware, where I'm majoring in computer science and minoring in cognitive science.
Destiny, I'm going to suggest, represents a set of possibilities for how you might turn out that represents the maximal use of your potential. So what I'm emphasizing again is that in traditional cultures, this is part of life. That it's crucially important that one discover one's proper place, not just where everybody wants you to be, but where you actually belong.
I think destiny relates to what people are able to do, but I think my destiny, I believe, is in the computer science field. And I think being a deafblind person, that has affected my destiny. I was basically born deaf and blind. I have a genetic condition that affected both my hearing and sight. When my parents first discovered that I was blind, they just felt very lost, of course. They didn't know what to do, and they asked doctors, you know, what should we do with our child? And the doctors responded to them, go home and pray, and that's all they said. And that wasn't very helpful information, obviously. So my parents really did a pretty good job getting me educated and everything all the way up to now. I really enjoy being a student at the University of Delaware. I received a exploratory grant from the National Science Foundation, and this grant was for $98,000 over 2 years. And this grant will be used to develop a device for deaf and blind people that will basically change speech into Braille and Braille into speech, so that deaf and blind people can communicate more independently with other people who don't know sign language. Some of the other communication methods that I have right now are very slow. I have a book that has Braille letters as well as printed letters in them, so that I can communicate with people who don't know sign language by simply pointing to the letters. It's an extremely slow method. I really think computers can level the playing field for people with disabilities. It removes a huge barrier in communication for me. When I was using a chat room, I was able to come in contact with a variety of people. And on one particular chat room, my boyfriend was in that room chatting. He seemed to be a very friendly person, so we started having more and more conversations with one another through the internet. And things just progressed from that point. And we've began dating, and we've been together for about 3 years. This was just a freak thing, a way that we happened to have met. I was not using the computer as a dating service in any way. I use the computer to communicate with him often. It's really a wonderful way for us to keep in touch. Some people wonder, how do I use a computer when I can't see? I have a Braille display device that has 8 pins that pop up just like the Braille code. So that allows me to do any kind of work on a computer that other people can do. So that basically eliminates the disability in using a computer. There are some things I can't do. I can't see pictures, obviously. I can't hear sounds. But I still think that I can do most things that people who do not have disabilities can do.
I went to the Model Secondary School for the Deaf, which is in Washington, D.C., right next to Gallaudet University that you were mentioning before. And they said, oh, you want to act? Come on, let's go act. You can do it, you can do it. And that was really an amazing, you know, something like finally somebody didn't say no to me, because really when I was in the 9th grade, really, I was 14 years old, it was really the first time in my entire life that nobody had said, no, you can't do it. And, you know, and I really could be myself, and that was a life-saving experience for me to say, it's okay to be deaf. You have something to offer as a person. Really, it's very lifting, you know, it's a uplifting experience in my life.
See, I can relate to that because when I was in high school, I played drums since the 4th grade, and I was pretty good at it. And I wanted to be in the marching band because I'd heard all the great times they had on all the trips and everything, so I wanted to be in the marching band. And a guy in a wheelchair in the marching band, I mean, how are you going to be in a wheelchair and march, you know, on the football field or in parades? But my band director didn't say no. We figured out a way to mount my control box on my foot plate, and so I was a drummer in the marching band.
That's so cool,
in
man.
high
That's
school.
so cool.
And that taught me a lot. That taught me about how to just ignore whatever rules, well, don't break the law, but ignore the rules that are intended for this society that we have.
You know, we have the technology to fly to the moon, you know, to get off this planet Earth. We have that technology. We can do anything with disabilities. We're, you know, we're right here on the ground. We can do anything. And other things I really appreciate about technology, I really appreciate about technology is that technology is really resolving barriers or allowing us to mesh, you know, to integrate. And I really, really look up to people who take the time with science, with technology, with inventing new things that can accommodate my needs. For example, captioning. I love captioning. I love to know. I love knowing. And that's what, you know, I just love to learn. I love to communicate with people. I love to absorb information. So captioning, to me, just, you know, it engulfs me and fulfills me with information, you know.
The bottom line, they can go out and spend all the money on computers, on curb cuts, on putting Braille on the elevators, everything. They can do all the things that the ADA says they're supposed to do, but until the attitude is changed, none of that will matter. You know, and that's the bottom line. It's the attitude. It's people's attitude towards people with disabilities.
Remember, the PC can light the way when all around you there is darkness, the proverbial light at the end of the high-tech tunnel.
Hearing problems can be overcome so you can play in time and in tune with all the other high-tech musicians.
Accessibility gives you the ingredients to cook up just the right dish for your meal ticket.
Communicating with others is possible no matter what the disability. Hello? Oh, yeah, sure, Ron. That was our lawyer who advises you not to throw cell phones around unless you're a seasoned professional.
Accessibility on the internet, at home or your company's network, is ready and waiting to keep anyone with a disability competitive and, at the end of the day, successful. But it doesn't have to be all business. For instance, did you know that I ordered this fine bottle of champagne online?
The computer gives people with disabilities the key to continued creative fertility in our electronic information-based society.
In a word, it frees the egghead within.
That was 5 words. You know, I never understood that phrase.
Shall we?
But of course. Okay. Huh. To accessibility.
To us.
To you.
To life.